Amitai, thank you so much for jumping on. I'm excited because I've been using Young Goose skincare now for a
Mhm.
little bit, and I have seen a change in my skin. But I really want to learn more about why. Like, why am I seeing a change in my skin? Now, my viewers know, my listeners know that I am a product junkie. I am an anti-aging addict and a product junkie. So I'm all about trying things that have that science behind them. It's not just
Mhm.
another product that, the department store carries at the beauty counter. I mean, this is actually based in science, and that's why it was created, which is why I love your product. So, number one, thank you for coming on. Number two, I can't wait for this discussion because I think everybody that listens wants to anti-age, and all women want to have good skin, right? That's the baseline. So thank you so much for joining us, and let's get into this skincare conversation.
Yeah, super excited to have this conversation. Obviously, I'm a big fan of yours, big fan of what you're doing and the message you're putting out there. I believe it's a cornerstone of health that is being overlooked, and you're bec becoming the spokesperson for that cornerstone. So I'm very excited to have this conversation with
Well, thank you. Right back at you in the skincare realm. So
you.
you said something. I love this. I'm going to bring it up here and actually read it. The skin is a driver of aging in the body. Can you expand on that?
Yes. So as you know, so for example, when you talk about the thyroid and thyroid hormones, you're doing an amazing job um, breaking down why the thyroid is like that master gland that can does and can affect any living any cell that functions in the body basically is interacting with the thyroid. And our skin is not doing that in the same perspective, but it is the largest organ in the body. And I think we should start and think of it as another protective layer, just like our gut. So if someone told you, oh, gut health can make or break your health, right? Your aging can affect your aging. That
Mhm.
would make a lot of sense, right? But our skin actually is built in some ways in a very similar fashion, where it is sacrificing itself. It sacrifices the the youthfulness of its cells in order to protect our body. And it is great, as you know, we are kind of built, and again, that's something you speak about pretty often. We're kind of built to peak at a certain age, and then our systems are haven't really evolved to function optimally over time. And what happened is, especially in our skin, is that we are getting to a point where there is an exhaustion of the ability of the skin to kind of keep us healthy or protect us from the environment, from stressors in the environment. And these stressors, this accumulation of unrepaired damage kind of seeps into our body. And these have a lot of names. So, senescent cells are one of them. So, cells that are kind of zombie cells that only create inflammation. Our body couldn't really clear them very well. Guess where they're accumulated the most? In your skin.
On our skin. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
So exactly. So these actually create inflammation, which then affects the entire body. Actually, there's something called inflammaging.
Mhm.
That's one of them, and that's the easiest example I can give. But actually, there are many, many, many different different components there. You actually lose a lot of moisture. Obviously, we sweat, right? We lose a lot of moisture through our skin.
Mhm.
So our skin barrier is kind of built to mitigate that, to kind of help our body hold on to moisture that it needs,
Right.
and that kind of goes haywire as we grow older and becomes thinner and less protective. And that is really why we're getting wrinkles, pigmentation, laxity, etc. It's all that those mechanisms that are supposed to, you know, withstand over time. They're really designed to withstand the assaults of our environment. First of all, the natural environment that we used to live in, tens of thousands of years ago, but also only a few decades into our lives. And when we are attempting to feel and look our best as time goes on, we really need to manipulate or to apply modern science in order maintain as much as we can those structures.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you think about it too, I'm going to pull in just something that I learned back in school that I didn't even know about. When a baby passes through the birth canal, well, if a baby does not
Yeah.
pass through the birth canal and is a C-section, it loses the ability because of passing through the birth canal, whatever it gets on its skin. I'm by no means, this is not my specialty, so I'm going to butcher this, but whatever gets on its skin literally changes the environment of the child's gut. So if you have a C-section baby, that baby is going to have a lower immune system. And listen, I mean, if you have to have a C-section, you got to have a C-section, but it's going to have a lower immune system. It's not going to have that protection of the gut because the skin didn't get that layer of being passed through the birth canal. So that's how important skin is and how it can affect you internally.
That's true, and vice versa, right? That flora that we have in our gut affects our skin. So you can imagine what happens when all of us are getting, infections, whatever that is, and we need to take antibiotics, whether topical or, oral, or IV, for example. We're gonna disrupt that mechanism or that relationship, and really things go haywire once we do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are, I mean, you are a biohacker and an entrepreneur, kind of all combined into one. And now you have this company, you have Young
Yeah.
Goose. So, like I said earlier, I'm a product junkie, admittedly. What sets Young Goose apart? Why is it that I'm seeing results within a week or two of using your product versus months of using other products that I have in the past?
Well, it's actually kind of a paradox. It's because we're not trying to give you these results right away. What I mean by that is that a normal brand, you could look at two brands, right? One brand is going to really only be a clickbait brand. If I need you to pick me up, have you gone to a big department store recently or to like a beauty store? You have hundreds of products to choose from.
Right.
So the only way that I'll be able to catch your eye is if I communicate in language that you already are completely aware that this language is a positive contributor to your health. So we see like the biggest brand in aesthetics right now creating a turmeric brand. When did turmeric become popular? Like, I don't know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
If you're into Ayurveda, like hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago. So they have to create a clickbaity environment that because of the limitations of what they can put in their products as far as unexplainable science and the fact that they need to invest 80-90% of their budget into marketing really does not allow their products to be effective. The other um, the other approach is an approach that really tries to make you a convert as soon as possible. So these products, normally what they do is they create a lot of stimulation in the skin. If you think of medical grade products you would have gotten from a dermatologist, not necessarily prescription, right? But products that you would have bought off a dermatologist or plastic surgeon, whatever. In the last 20 years, they're really based on very aggressive stimulation, peels, things like that. And these things might give you results right away, but let's say you have done them for a while, you're actually exhausting reservoirs, youthful reservoirs that your skin is supposed to be relying on for years to come. So this, after I told you what we are not doing, what we are doing is we're communicating with your cells on a cellular and an epigenetic level, and we are making your cells behave like the youngest cells that we can have them behave. So up to or down to 20 years younger than what they are right now. So if we are, you know, a product junkie or someone that has actually skin issues. It can be either or. Either we've taken like really good care of our skin for many, many years and we've depleted those reservoirs because of that, or we actually haven't, and the skin has a lot of things that it needs to deal with. These are the two subsets of populations that see fast results because the skin is really like starving for the molecules that we provide, such as NAD plus, NAD plus, activators of the anti-aging genes of the body, mitochondrial support, increasing cellular energy, all of the things that are in a much deeper level. But how we like to call them, they're upstream. They're processes that really control everything else. Like just like you're talking about the thyroid, and thyroid as a master regulator, it sits upstream and regulates a lot of different processes. And that's what we're trying to do from a skin cellular level. Yeah.
Totally makes sense. It's like a power supplement for your skin, basically.
Yeah.
I love that you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned NAD because that is a very common supplement that we're hearing a lot of. It's a peptide that we're hearing a lot of. How is that? How does that tie into skincare?
That's so
That's the key.
not only that's a great question, it's a question that kind of drives what we are doing as a company. So the reason we started is because we were trying to make a product that bypasses um, the need to take a supplement or to take an IV. And we were
Yeah.
trying to make a product that gets into your body through your skin. But we failed. And the reason we failed is because your skin apparently gobbles it up. Your skin basically is being starved out of NAD as you grow older. So what is NAD? NAD plus is an energy cofactor. It basically is it's like a waiter that carries energy around in your body.
Okay.
But that's what people thought for like 100 years, because the person who discovered it 120 years ago, won the Nobel Prize literally 100 years ago. So for about 80 years, people thought it's just that it's a potentiator for energy creation. So obviously we mentioned that cellular energy before, but what we've discovered in longevity science and anti-aging science in the last 20 years is that this molecule is really, you could think of it as like your fuel gauge in your car, your fuel meter in your car.
Mhm.
And cells refer to it as far as like repair processes, over 600 repair processes, look at it at the reservoirs of NAD, ask themselves, do I have enough NAD even to perform whatever repair I need to do? And if the NAD isn't available in large quantities, repair is not going to happen. So to give you an example, if I took NAD out of your body, you would be dead in 30 seconds.
Oh,
Just
really?
as an example. Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah, don't let anyone do that.
No,
So
don't do that. Note to self.
yeah, so your skin, which as we said before, is really what is standing between the environment and the damaging, free radicals, UV, whatever it is, that it would damage your body.
Mhm.
Our skin is the barrier, and that takes all of that damage and tries to deal with it. And that damage really accumulates in the DNA. So NAD is really becoming this fuel to repair DNA, and we don't have enough as time goes on. And that decline in NAD is a big part of what aging is. Our body's inability to have enough NAD to repair all the damage that it's going through, either on our skin or within our body,
Mhm.
is a big part of what aging is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're under constant assault. So I talk about
Yeah.
it in terms of your liver. So your liver
Yeah.
processes toxins, everything from the medication you take, the over the counter, the cheap beauty stuff that you slather on you with all
Yeah.
kinds of chemicals, and then just the air that you breathe and walking down the street and the car exhaust fumes. And we're constantly
Mhm.
bombarded. Even when we wash our face, the water that comes out of our tap has
Yeah.
to. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about it in my mind as our skin. And really, I haven't thought about the skin this way, but our skin is like our liver. It's literally protecting us and
Yeah.
filtering out the bad. But in doing so, it kind of takes a beating itself too.
Yes. And actually what you just said really ties in beautifully to what we're doing as far as like providing NAD specifically to the skin.
Mhm.
Because if you did take a pill of NAD precursor, so building blocks for NAD, because your body has no idea what to do with NAD when you just give it to it.
Right.
It needs the building blocks. So when you give those building blocks to your body, 95% of those building blocks create NAD in the liver. Just to give you an idea. So
Okay.
whatever organ gets that first, it is going to indiscriminately just, take the majority of NAD, because our body, again, if it's not under the age of 25, does not have enough. So it's just going to go into wherever it can first. A
Mhm.
lot of people are paying thousands of dollars for NAD IVs.
Oh yeah.
These go, everywhere in our body, but again, like our muscles, our brain, our heart, our internal organs, they get prioritized because, as we say, our skin is kind of the one that's left behind.
It is.
Uh, yeah.
It is. No,
And
I say the same thing. Our bodies are so smart. Our bodies want to keep us alive. You don't need good
mhm.
skin to be alive. You don't need to burn fat. You don't need to grow your hair. You don't need good skin to stay alive. So our bodies are smart like that.
Well, you could even think of it from the flip side of that. We are hardwired basically to gauge health and DNA integrity and interpret it as attraction, right? As a good provider of genetic continuity or whatever that is,
Right.
and that we construe as an attractive human being. So if someone has good skin, it literally means everything else normally functions correctly. That's the last thing that's going to function optimally. So if we have like perfect skin, for the most part, it means that we have all our systems in line. And obviously we can go back to the thyroid, and if we have thyroid issues, we're most of the time going to have like extra dry skin or flaky skin or whatever that is going to be expressed as. So again, if we are, as biohackers, as health optimizers, as people who just want to live our best life, want our skin to perform optimally, we have to understand that and provide NAD and other, building blocks specifically provided to the skin and communicate with the skin directly, because otherwise it's going to be a tough battle.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So
Mm-hmm.
with Young Goose, you
Mm-hmm.
base the whole line around boosting NAD. And so you're one of the only product lines that I have ever seen that really speaks on boosting NAD and the benefits of the skin. We know NAD, like you said, yeah, you can go get a really expensive once in a while injection or infusion. I mean, listen, if you have the ability to do that weekly, good for you, but most of us don't.
Mm-hmm.
So if you
Yeah.
have that ability, that's fine. But this is, to me, I see this as more ongoing and uh cumulative. So as you use it instead of just okay, once every 6 months I'm getting an infusion. No, you're using this every day, every day, every day, and that's going to have a cumulative effect on your skin to benefit it, and
Correct.
to the
Correct.
positive. Yeah.
So, if you think of like a healthy body, like a fit body,
Mhm.
how will you be able to do like a once a week or once a month workout and have the best functioning body? It's close to impossible.
Right.
We hear about devices like Carol Bike or something like that can really, really distill, a workout to like once a week and give you great result. That's fine. But that is, again, something that is extremely hard to access. And also, that's not optimal. We know that optimal is 30 minutes a day, moving your body, training. That's going to accumulate the best longevity based health that we can have physically.
Right.
Skin is the same thing. Okay. Like, we did base our skincare on NAD, but only two products really have NAD. Well, yeah, only two products really have NAD precursors within them. And these are products that people should be using on a daily basis. And then what we did was we said, okay, now the cells are functioning optimally. What do we want them to do? Because they have no idea that there are wrinkles that they need to take care of. That's something that you need to either go and do, some kind of procedure, peel, laser, whatever that is. Your body it's like formed scars or bones that didn't heal well. The body has moved on. Okay. And we need to ask the body to go back and repair whatever that is. And that's what we did with our serum. So we have like a serum, and they are still like cutting edge biohacking to the max. We have a serum that reboots 14 different genes that are involved with aging. So collagen genes, elastin genes, hyaluronic acid, things like that. We published a study on it. Actually, it's pretty cool. And we have like retinol that doesn't leave you red or irritated. So we have a line of like serums that ask the skin to do specific things. But again, our skin is only as good, or the results are only as good as the ability of the skin to access its genetic information to behave as youthful as possible in order to provide the best results. And that is what our NAD products do. And we believe that everyone over the age of 25 should be using them on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, no, I don't disagree. I absolutely love it. And from what I've used of your line so far, I have not experienced any redness. Now, I am the type, I'm interested in using the retinol because I am scared of retinol. Anytime I use it, even from people are like, no, this is like gentler. It's not gonna, I get all red and dry and flaky. So if you're retinol, I mean, I'll even take a little bit of pink or dry, but I mean, I get like a sunburnt from being near the equator kind of look. So if your product won't do that to me, I am sold on that retinol because we know that it's good for you. We know there's decades upon decades of research of retinol being anti-aging. So if you can't use it, you're not getting that benefit. I mean, you're still going to be getting benefits from the rest of your line and all the other ingredients in it. But I, as an aging woman, would like to add in retinol, but I just haven't been able to.
First of all, let me just say that whatever you're doing is working great. So just continue what you're doing. But I'm going to tell you something about retinol and stimulation in general, which is, I believe, one of the most important topics of any skin conversation. It is the responsible or the responsible relationship between stimulation for repair and longevity. So in nature in general, there is normally a dichotomy between peak performance and longevity. So think of a lion or any other, apex predator, whatever. Mm-hmm. It has two states. It has a state where it has reached alpha status. It is now ready to spread its seed around. And the only thing that genetically that lion cares about is to keep itself in peak performance for as long as possible. Once it's going to get toppled down and it's not going to be the alpha, seed spreader, genetically, it's unimportant anymore. So it literally burns through all of its reservoirs for as long as it can. Mm-hmm. The other state is a state of like preservation, which means I need to bide my time, right? I really need to make sure that I know one day that alpha lion is going to step off the throne. It's not going to be optimal anymore, and that is when I'm going to express my performance optimizing genes. But in the meantime, I need to preserve myself as much as I can and to keep myself close to peak performance, but really not make sure that all the genetic information is there. So things like intermittent fasting, cold exposure, sauna, all of the things that we know that are like stressors that are contributing to longevity, that is the mechanism that they work within, okay? And our skin does the same thing. So if we ask our skin to repair itself all the time, we're basically asking it to be in peak performance all the time. You're going to deplete reservoirs that you need later on. And that is very important to understand. So even when we're talking about retinol or procedures, whatever that is, you need to be responsible how often you use them. Retinol shouldn't be used every day. And this whole thing that I want to say is because the study we published is that with our retinol, 30% of people could actually use it even twice a day without getting red.
Holy cow.
And only 10% of the people had to use it every other day in order not to develop something that is called retinal dermatitis, which is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So which is red irritation, flakiness, etc. So I view retinol or anything like that as a burst of reparative period, which is like a month to 3 months of using it, maybe even on a daily basis, but basically reaching some result you want to get. And then a maintenance period, which should be 3/4 of the time at least. Okay, every other day with retinol, or if we're doing like facials or whatever, basically like every other month or something like that.
Okay.
Not very often.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. So we would use it like every day to every other day for a month to 3 months, and then use it more sporadically just for that
Yeah.
maintenance. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I haven't heard of it used that way, but that's a good idea.
I believe that now, really, the 25 years ago, about 25 years ago, the whole paradigm of let's make the skin repair itself as much as we can came into like the front of the stage, right?
Right.
Companies that are now probably the biggest in dermatology offices, they still try to kind of preserve that model, even though it's become a little bit redundant. Like people have got bad experiences, or what we're starting to see is skin can look great, but there's a comedian that says that someone found when they're doing a lot of that, they don't become younger. They found a magic age between the age of like 62 to 63. The skin looks different than what young skin looks like. So
Okay.
it has a thinner consistency to it. It is bruising easier. It
Right.
is also a little bit more rigid.
Hmm.
Also can't hold on to moisture, etc. So a big part of what we're trying to do, and we're doing it with, you mentioned peptides, so we do it with a specific peptide, for example, that we're trying to use more and more in our formulations, which is it's a copper peptide or another peptide called ectoin. So peptides, that what they do is that they rebuild that top layer of the skin
Hmm.
and mimic how a youthful skin would have built that top layer. And what happens is that we can really allow the skin to repair itself as much as possible because we are protecting it from that onslaught of the environment all the time.
Right.
And that's how we kind of biohack retinol. So we have biomimetic lipids. So they rebuild the protective layer of the skin while retinol is working.
Oh, I like it. I cannot wait to try your retinol. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. So excited. So, okay, so we have all this laid out. I want to talk on, before I let you go, I want to talk on the two skin conditions. And I'm totally putting you on the spot because we didn't talk about this
For
before
sure.
we got on here. The two skin conditions that my audience struggles with, that's acne and dry skin. Obviously, the acne is thyroid imbalance, hormone imbalance. And then the dry skin is definitely thyroid because of that cell turnover rate being so slow that it just accumulates and everybody gets like really dry and flaky.
Mhm.
So let's talk about those two conditions as it relates to the Young Goose products.
And when we're talking about acne, obviously we're not going to be talking about. I mean, we could, but it's a different acne than a juvenile gets. Is a different acne than an adult gets,
Right.
right? Or
Right.
someone who's over the age of 30, 35. It's a different type of acne. And actually, we did talk about the protective barrier of the skin, right?
Right.
There is something called transepidermal water loss. So when we're trying to hold on to moisture in the skin, we are actually not necessarily looking at how our skin cells hold on to moisture. That's why a lot of skincare companies are really attached to the idea of hyaluronic acid. And we
Mm-hmm.
use hyaluronic acid, but we use it sporadically, only to serve us introducing more moisture to certain levels of the skin.
Okay.
But what happens is that we can literally have the most hydrating moisturizer the world has ever known. If our skin barrier or if our ability is impaired as far as preventing transepidermal, so transepidermal means like the skin's ability to interact with the environment. So the interaction with the environment of the skin
Mm-hmm.
is impaired and we are losing moisture to the environment, nothing is going to work. So when we're looking at, obviously we need to fix our thyroid in order for the cells to be able to kind of turn themselves over and renew themselves as much as they can.
Mm-hmm.
But the other side of that is creating an environment, not only within us, that's the thyroid, but also around us, skin barrier in order to allow our cells to turn over in the best way possible. So if you think of a wound, if you think you have like a scab and you keep picking on that scab, it stands to reason that that wound is not going to heal very well and very fast, right?
Right.
That is what happens when our skin barrier is impaired. We keep picking on that cellular turnover that is anyway impaired. So if we can basically create a better layer, and by the way, that layer is not only physical; it's antioxidants. It's the fat that we eat and the type of oils that we apply on the skin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, not only that, but the type of sunblock that we're using that should be non-chemical.
Right.
All of those things together really create an environment and a shield that would allow us to renew ourselves in the best way possible. Now, I know I went on and the listener probably would say, well, he spoke a lot about the dryness, but what about acne? So acne kind of is a different, it's the same thing presenting itself different in the skin.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people, if they have like extra oily hair and they'll go to their hairdresser, the hairdresser is going to tell them, you're going to have to wash your hair less in order to balance it out.
Right.
Our body has the ability to balance out oils. It's a little bit challenging because our skin, again, you're going to go through a period where you're not going to look your best, but our skin actually, so when it creates a lot of sebum and when the pores are clogged,
Mm-hmm.
that is expressing stuff in acne. It means that actually the skin is getting dried out and it's trying to moisturize itself and it's not doing it in the best way. So when we're creating again that protective layer and it has ceramide, it has oils, etc., we can then balance the need of the skin to create more and more and more oils which express themselves in acne.
Okay.
So it's a flip side of the same thing, basically.
Well, and I think too, kind of expanding what you're saying, what people do, I know I'm guilty of this as well, or was guilty of it when I had acne, even as an adult, is we tend to scrub. We want to get rid of the oil. Let's wash it 5 times and let's put like a salicylic acid on it and let's just burn the hell out of our skin so that the acne goes away. But really, we're just breaking down that protective barrier over and over and over again.
Yeah. And by the way, guess what you're doing also? You're also destroying your skin's flora, which we talked about before, those microbes on our skin that are there regardless. So when people are like, oh, I have to wash my face or wash my face with like a hard wash because I have apparently bacteria on my skin. Well, newsflash, you anyway have bacteria on your skin. The question is which bacteria?
Right.
How are you how are you pointing that bacteria in a positive direction? And then obviously, if you're all the time destroying that bacteria, just the law of big numbers, you are going to develop bacteria that is more durable, that is left behind, and that can, propagate itself the fastest. And that's normally bad bacteria. And one of them obviously is P. acne bacteria. So again, we definitely want to take care of our skin flora. We can also do it, by the way, with ingesting probiotics that also express themselves in the skin. Like my favorite one, it's not a product that I'm involved with, but I just highly recommend it. It's called Serene Skin.
Okay.
It's by Microbiome Labs. It's a really new product that they have, and that is a specific probiotic. It's also like a whole probiotic.
Okay.
But one of the strands that they have there is a specific probiotic that expresses itself in better skin flora. And we've just like come full circle, right? Because we are now showing again the expression of our gut health in our skin and vice versa.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, you should have set up something with Microbiome Labs because I guarantee you they're going to have an uptick in the purchase of Serene
They
Skin
should.
now. Yeah.
They should. Our products only work as well as the host's
Yeah,
body
that's
works.
good. I like that.
Right.
That's
So that is why when we invited you on our podcast, like the most important thing that we have is our podcast. That's our best way to create results in our users, because if I'm going to give you the best skincare possible, but you're going to eat McDonald's every day, your skin's not going to look good. If it does, they should research you a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not working that way. So our ability to explain what it means to be a person that has created a lifestyle that expresses itself in good skin is our biggest asset as a company, I believe.
That's exactly what I say. I say the both and theory, right? So
Yeah.
whenever I'm treating a patient, it has to be both and. Yes, we have to optimize your thyroid and we have to optimize your hormones and we have to lower that insulin if you're insulin resistant. And you can't be eating McDonald's. That's exactly what I say. So I love that you said that in terms of skincare too. You can't be eating McDonald's and expect a pill or a treatment protocol or whatever to work, supplement protocol to work if you're doing this over here. So it has to be all together, and that includes your skincare as well. 100%. So I love that you bring science, you bring the internal environment. Yes, I love that you have a podcast, because who has that? Most companies just put their line out and they hire an influencer to smile with the product, but you guys are actually diving into the science on your Young Goose podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we actually are, I think someone would expect that if a skincare brand has a podcast, like probably half the time they're talking about their skincare products. That's actually not what we're doing. People, love our skincare products. They use them on a regular basis, and they normally recommend them to other people. But I feel is much harder for people to recommend is like that holistic lifestyle is really, how they say that you're the average of your the people that are closest to you.
Yeah.
What I'm doing with podcasts and books that I listen to, I make sure that I all the time am being flooded with information that propels me forward or to the right direction, whatever it's called. Creating an environment that nourishes my mind and the ways that I make decisions. And we are trying to be that voice in someone's ear as far as the end result being good skin.
Right.
Okay. And that is exactly what we're doing in the podcast, because as I said, it's easy to recommend products. It's very hard to be that person that is going to look at someone's plate and is going to say, you should be eating, dairy because it's going to make you whatever. So that is why that's another product people recommend, right? A podcast, and then everything flows from there.
Right. Exactly. So
Yeah.
you have given the listeners a 20% off code, and that is podcast 20. So we're going to put that in the show notes. We're going to put the links to the products in the show notes, but tell us more of where people can find you, and tell us more about the podcast. Where can people find your podcast?
Okay, so the podcast is called Biohacking Beauty. One of my favorite episodes, true, is Dr. Amy Horniman's episode. It's become
You flatter me.
cult favorite. Go ahead. It's on every platform: Spotify, Apple, whatever.
Yep.
And on YouTube. We have a pretty informative Instagram page. So that is young_goose_skincare. And Facebook is just Facebook-Young Goose. And I have a normal person's Instagram page. I do post a lot about like my supplements and things like that, but that is, pretty random. So my name, probably people would need a show note for that, is Amitay Eshel, Amitay_Eshel. You're going to hear a lot about how to take 72 supplements and wash them down with water, basically.
I'm right there with you. I just did a supplement tour of my kitchen for a video for people, because I don't think, you hear so much of, oh, I take so many supplements. I'm like, no, you don't. Come to my kitchen. So I love that you're taking so many. Yeah, love it. Very much alike.
I think a harder thing to do is to try and recoup your deficiencies in food. I think we all have around. Have you ever heard about the idea of decision fatigue?
Oh yeah.
So most people have around 25 decisions they can make a day. And after that, we're just not making the right decision. We're going to make the easier decision.
Right.
And I think supplements, again, we're talking about like a podcast as being like one product. Supplements are like one decision making that is going to replenish a lot of micronutrients or macronutrients that would have taken a lot of small decisions that would have taken out of your decision making ability. So I'm all about consolidating decision making.
Yeah. Make it nice and easy. Right. Which is why another reason why I love your product line, because there's not 20 different things that you're like,
Yeah.
which one do I use for
Yeah.
my skin? Love that.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Yeah, they can if someone needs consultation, we do offer consultation on our website, but much easier than that because I know it would be difficult for me to just decide to speak to a person that I've never spoken to before. There is a quiz people can take. It's a link in our Instagram. They can take a quiz. It's going to tell them what they should use, what order, etc. Pretty simple.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, Amitai, thank you so much. I don't know if I said your name right that time. I hope I did, but thank you so much for coming on. And because I love this
Thank you.
stuff. I love this stuff. So this is awesome. But thank you, because
My
this has been really
pleasure.
informative. I love combining that biohacking and skincare and anti-aging all in one. So just like your podcast is not just about skincare, my podcast is not just about thyroid, although we can tie everything together because it's all about health from the inside out.
Exactly. Well, it was a pleasure being here. I feel like we could have gone for hours.
I know. We could keep going, but we'll have you back on. How about that? So
Sounds great.
thank you so much.
Thank you.